It's Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. We don't mean that in a derogatory way. Welcome to the Christmas special. Soapbox Contributor Appreciation Christmas special. Let's say it that way.
Okay, one more time.
The Contributor Appreciation Christmas special. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is my lovely wife, Aisha Thomas, if she wants to go by that. I hope you guys are doing all right. This is the...
What is happening?
There we are.
Okay.
This is the Soapbox Christmas special, the first one of this, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the first one of its kind. At the very least, it's the first one that both of us have been on. Usually,
I don't think you did Contributor Appreciation last year.
I didn't? Well, no. I don't know if I did a Contributor Appreciation.
Plus, we were traveling.
Yeah.
Or you had just finished traveling.
No, I had just gotten back
Christmas
home.
Eve.
Did
you guys see the video last year? Jamal surprised his mom on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, they had to have seen that.
She thought that he was in Germany, and we snuck him into the country. And she came around the corner in the kitchen. She cried. She did like an ugly cry. It was adorable.
Yeah, she was shocked. I mean, I think the last time I talked to her, I was in Czech Republic or something, and I kept telling her, I was like, yeah, now the truth of it is I was in Florida and just couldn't get back home that night, but I had been traveling, God, I think for like 20 some hours, but that was after she told me she was ill, which put a little bit of oomph, to getting your ass home. And so that's kind of how that went last Christmas. So you're right, this is the first time we've done it together this Christmas. Yeah,
that was a nice surprise last year.
That was a nice surprise. So I'm going to let you explain what this is.
This is
Contributor Appreciation, because we didn't do it Sunday. This was pushed because we thought it would be a cool intro.
Once a week, Jamal does a show specifically geared. Oh, I'm all off.
Go ahead.
This past my bedtime. I'm supposed to be like sleep waiting for Santa Claus. But welcome to Contributor Appreciation. Once a week, Jamal takes a show out to give you the content that you specifically request.
Yes.
So we put a post on the Patreon platform and we say, hey, what do you want to hear this week? What do you want him to discuss? People post and we pull the content for today's show from that. And so that's what's going to fuel today's show. So thank you for everyone who contributes all year round through Patreon, PayPal, Streamlabs, Super Chats, and any other way that you give monetary contributions. Thank you. But this is also just a thanks to everyone who supports the channel. If you can't give monetarily or that's not how you want to give your support, still thank you for being here. Just make sure that if you enjoy a video, you give it a thumbs up so he knows that you're liking the content, and make sure that you are subscribed and you share if you enjoy a video, and hit the bell notification icon that is like over here. I don't know where the heck it is. I'm not a YouTuber person.
You're close.
But it's down there somewhere. Make sure that you are subscribed and you have the notification. You
are a YouTube person. You have your own channel. Please tell the audience your channel.
I have a channel called
It's Aisha's Best Life.
Oh, yes. High five, babe. Woo!
She always thinks I don't pay attention to that channel. I've watched every video she's put out.
All 4 of them.
Yes.
Good job, babe.
Yes. It's not because you only have 4. If you had 1,000, it would be all 1,000. Like you're saying that as if that's on me, that's on you. The 4 is on you. You just got to up your productivity.
You didn't. Okay. All I'm saying is from the beginning.
I was there.
You didn't know the name.
I am bad with names.
Oh, wait a minute. We have a super chat.
I'm bad with names. So, I will know you for a while and probably not know your name. So, there's...
But not me, because I'm your wife.
You're my wife, yes. But that wasn't your name. It was your channel's name. It's a little bit different.
Okay,
right?
So we have a super chat from A. Mayers. A. Mayers says, Merry Xmas. IA hates booty judge. Don't believe the hype.
Iowa hates booty judge. Don't believe the hype. Yeah, the name has changed. Right here.
Somebody said, are we saying Merry Christmas again?
Yeah, I'm not against saying Merry Christmas. Why should I be against it? None of it's real. What does it matter? I know words matter, but in this case, none of it's real.
Merry Christmas, if that's what you celebrate. Happy holiday, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever it is.
Oh, me saying Merry Christmas is not slapping somebody who believes in Kwanzaa.
I'm not saying that. You do calm down.
No, I'm making a point to you that there's nothing wrong with saying Merry
I
Christmas.
don't think it was. I just was reading the comments.
Oh.
Cheese and rice.
My bad. Iowa hates Booty Judge.
Happy Christmas
Booty
Eve.
Judge.
Hey, Trudy.
What's going on, Trudy?
A. Maris said the music leading up to the show was like rainforest music you could have sex to.
It is, right? It is. I love that soundtrack. That's why I started with that soundtrack. It's a copyright-free soundtrack that they have on YouTube that anybody can listen to. I got to be honest, man. Everything is on YouTube. There are so many books that I've been able to just listen to on YouTube all the way through.
Books on YouTube?
Books on YouTube. Spears, Beavers, the Spanish Civil War. That's on YouTube. The entire book. Berlin, Stalingrad by Beaver. Both of those on YouTube. Spears' book, the one that he wrote. It's funny though. As you go through so many of them, it's almost like you have to go through it more than once.
I feel like I'm getting dumber as I get older.
Well, I felt that way for a bit, and then that's kind of part of the thing that motivated me to
start reading. I did restart my French lessons.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the one thing that I'm like, okay, because like I've been growing like career wise, but like I used to read
But that's not really
all
real.
the time, and it's like, I kind of want to do something else.
Well,
and so I did restart.
The catch is most of our productive energies are spent just trying to live. Like most of if you think back over your life, and pretty much everybody who's watching me, the same thing will be true unless you were just raised with a trust fund. All of your productive energies, the overwhelming majority, are spent trying to eat, find a house, pay for a car, pay for your kid, pay for school, pay for this, pay for that.
Right. Everyday life.
All, for the most part, just trying to live. And so it's like trying to take that extra step of, now I'm going to read something. Now I'm going to do something, either politically
and
or
then
otherwise.
not only that, but a lot of times it's like, do I really want to take the time to harness another talent or learn something new that's not really going to contribute something to my life? It's just for growth.
Oh, you said just for growth. Well, I would argue to you that nothing matters. I mean, growth is just as good of a reason as anything. I mean, give me another reason that's better than growth outside of material needs.
Well, I guess that's what I'm talking about, is when you're focused on that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. I mean, but I guess my only point to you is the growth part. The growth part matters probably more than the other stuff. I mean, even though in the way we judge it through society, it's your success is essentially tied to what you can.
I'm speaking along those terms.
Yeah.
Because I'm part of that society.
So am I.
Okay. We have another super chat. Sharpshooter KE, thank you, says Merry Christmas from Germany.
Nice. And Germany does it up. They do Christmas up well, to put it mildly.
All right. So, wait a minute. Fred Eggs just said, we just got a new one from Fred Eggs. Fred Eggs says, Jamarl, you should release a book list of those you highly recommend for the politically astute and those looking to experience a political awakening.
That's funny. So Chomsky is a little dense. So before,
no, not right now.
Oh, I thought it went on the spot.
No, not right now.
I was gonna do it on the spot. I was gonna do that shit up.
We'll do some research.
Well, not all those books are political though. I mean, some of those books are like.
He's talking about for the politically astute.
I know, but that's not. All those books aren't political.
Comfortable.
Oh, you showed us a download. No, I guess I'm saying books for the politically astute are not entirely political books. Not always. I mean, some of those books are philosophy. Some of those books go into new agey stuff, like doors of perception type stuff. Like, I think it's important to not get so stuck in a mindset. Like, you have people who would fight tooth and nail for their ideology. Capitalism is better. Socialism is better. And they would get out there with a knife and, go at it. And they used to be that way. Like, back in the old days, our parties. No, I do mean that. I mean, like in the 30s and 40s and the 50s, parties would have military wings. Like, so you would have, the Communist Party would have its group of thugs, and the Fascist Party would have its group of thugs. And they would be out there fighting, dueling it in the streets. The catch here is when Hitler took power, fighting in the streets, at that point you had the state working on behalf of the fascists, in which case they could just knock down shops and everything else.
Yeah.
When that guy wrote that famous poem, first they came for the communists. Well, he's being literal. Well, they did come from the communists. People were being just disappeared and whatnot. And the media, just like they do today, they would say they were terrorists, they were a thug, they were this, they were that. And people would look and they would, just like do today, if the cops are taking them away, they had to have done something wrong. Yeah. Right. And then he finally says, when they came to me, nobody was there, and that type of thing.
All right, let's get started.
No, I feel you. I guess my point is, it's beneficial to not get stuck in their mindset. And I mean that in the sense of political thought. Like, one of the most awakening things for me wasn't something I read. It was just this blatant understanding of, oh, right, none of it's real. The none of it's real thing is not something you get from a political book. I guess that's my point. The none of it's real thing is one of those things you get from this kind of mystical stuff.
Okay.
Your world can be what you want your world to be. That's my point. The catch becomes getting people around. There's nothing stops anyone from doing something atrocious. Anything more than it stops or compels something to do something good. You can say your environment, yes, and it propels people to behave in particular ways. But from the standpoint of, a universe that looks on and cares, it does not. Earth can blink out tomorrow. Nobody would care one iota. Which means that, for the most part, you're free. Now, when I say free, I just mean free in the sense that we can organize and come together for a society as long as it's consistent. And long as it's, you could say, logically sound in the way that how it's organized. All right, we can move on.
Okay, thanks. Let's go ahead and get started with the thing that we came here to do.
The
guy, actually, no, he okay. Yeah. Shame on you, Fred Eggs. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Okay.
Beaver's books are really good.
All right.
That book that Daniel
compile that list now. Yeah, I'm about to go.
Okay, go ahead.
Fuck this. I did not sign up for this shit on Christmas Eve. Okay?
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
So the first topic, now, what was that? I think I just hallucinated something.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Keep going.
So the first topic, we're doing these off the cusp.
Well, I was going to do Warren.
No, we're going to do the contributor appreciation ones first.
Well, let's go back and forth because people came for both. Like, you have your contributors came for that.
Okay, well, let's do this one first.
Okay, cool.
All right, so this is from the Patreon platform from Michael Williams. Michael Williams said, who has been the most or worst smeared candidate this election cycle?
Good question.
Both in the U.S. and in the UK. He said he's thinking Tulsi, but Corbyn is right behind her as far as the most smeared.
I think Corbyn.
Smeared.
Corbyn. 1,000 times Corbyn. I think 1,000 times Corbyn. I don't think it's even close. I mean, they call that man. Do you realize Margaret Hodge, member of parliament, comes down and starts screaming at him, you're a fucking anti-Semite. Now, she says this in front of everybody, and then immediately on the media, Jeremy Corbyn's fucking anti-Semite. Jeremy Corbyn's fucking anti-Semite. And the media for like 3 years called him. Do you realize there is nobody less anti-Semitic than Jeremy Corbyn? And they screamed and howled that this man was a Semite. Either he himself was an anti-Semite, or he allowed it in his party.
Yeah.
You had the bishop, or whoever that person was. It wasn't a bishop. But you had the person heavy in the Jewish community, main member of a church or something, comes out and says that there's a problem with labor and anti-Semitism, and that Jeremy Corbyn, for the most part, allowed that anti-Semitism to fester in that party. Labor has a problem. So immediately, of course, the media says, Jeremy Corbyn's a fucking anti-Semite. And they run story after story after story. And they do this for 3 fucking years. And they don't allow it to die down. Now, the honest reality of it is that the very fact that he says Palestinians are human beings, and we need to treat them as such if we ever want to have any kind of resolution to this issue. And the very acknowledgement that Palestinians are human beings allows, because it's a 1-to-1, if you believe that Palestinians are human beings, then you got to be anti-Semite to have that belief. Like that, but that's how it goes. That there's no introspection into the conversation because they don't want it to be. You have elements of labor who hated Corbyn's fucking guts. They're not, they don't have to be Zionists or anything else. They just hated his guts.
Right.
You had elements of the Israeli lobby who hated his fucking guts because of his policy on Israel and Palestine. And these two found a common ally in one another because many of them were in the same party at one point. But in other cases, you had the lobby, for the most part, that's backing these guys. And this dovetails nicely to Labor's own people saying he's a fucking anti-Semite, and this other group saying he's a fucking anti-Semite, and the media runs with it. And the media treats every story as if it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Like it's astonishing to me. Like, you can deal with people, and then as human beings, you're like, that guy's full of shit. Why? Because oftentimes there's other reasons for the reason that they're doing things. Meaning there's stated reason. Why do I always get mad at you when you and I have a go at one another? It's because I take this thing of, that first issue was bullshit, and you know it was bullshit. And your second issue is the real issue, and let's have a conversation about the real issue. It's that type of stuff.
What?
It's, my point is,
I think you're making up
human beings oftentimes can know that this other person is motivated by something other than what they said they're motivated by.
Scenes, right.
This person is full of shit. The media never does that. The media, especially on those type of claims, they could point to nothing that he's been anti-Semitic about. And they would put it to him and they would say, what about these claims that you're an anti-Semite? Okay, what about these claims that you allow anti-Semitism? And they would write story after story after story after story. They would say Jeremy Corbyn, was working with terrorists, in the IRA. Jeremy Corbyn was okay with terrorists in this particular place. Jeremy Corbyn, was okay with Russia poisoning somebody. Like, they would run all of these stories and they would hit them over and over and over and over. And you have people in the media in the UK who hate his guts. You have people in the media who work with the political party apparatus, just like in the United States, that hate his guts. And all of these things was leveled against him. To be fair, he never put this back and said, it is anti-Semitic of you in and of itself to say that I'm anti-Semitic for taking a policy position of a state. Israel is a state. Jewish, fuck that. It's a state like any other state.
Yeah.
And it can be criticized for the actions that it takes just like any other state. You're telling me about the fucking Uyghurs in China. What about this shit? What about this shit? They have an open-air ghetto. They have nuclear weapons. Nobody cares. Do you know they've tried to call Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders, anti-Semitic now? The guy's fucking Jewish. His family died in the goddamn Holocaust. No, it's not going to stick. Does it stop him from trying it? No. And that's kind of my point. It's a playbook. It's not a real thing.
Right.
If you're asking me, did they shit on Gabbard? Yes. They treat her poorly. It's not the same. I don't even think it's close. I think, don't misunderstand me, she's treated poorly. She's treated poorly. They call the woman a Russian asset.
So would you say that she is definitely the most smeared on the U.S. side in this cycle of elections?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But in regards to, like, on the UK
overall,
side, it's definitely Corbyn.
Oh,
yeah,
man. It is so, like you can look at some of the stuff they would saying about him, and it was just in stereo. And it was just like right before the election. And I agree, he allowed himself to be hobbled on a lot of the stuff. But by the same token, if you ask me, did they smear him? God knows they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get caught up on the super chats. Thank you for that, and thank you for that question, Michael Williams. James777, thank you for the super chat. James says, happy holidays. Thanks for being neutral on Tulsi. He says...
I'm not neutral. I like Tulsi.
Okay.
Oh, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hope other progressives are as reasonable as you. BS is my second choice. By the way, Mrs. Thomas is looking beautiful.
Aww.
Thank you. Uncle Brother. Hey. Uncle Brother's my number one fan.
I don't think I'm neutral on Tulsi. I like
Wait,
Tulsi.
let me finish my other super chat.
Oh, go ahead.
Uncle Brother says, hello, Aisha. Yes. Season greetings, guys. Hello, Uncle Brother. So you said you don't think you're neutral on...
I like
Some people
Tulsi.
were saying, somebody said you smeared Tulsi too.
I like Tulsi. I just, if she does something I dislike,
You gotta call people
I hit
out.
her. Yeah. It's not, these are horses to me. Yes, there's a human being underneath. But in the wider scheme of things, I look at the candidates and I say, what do I like? What do I dislike? That's all. And this stuff is purely along the lines of, this is ideologically, this is kind of where I am, and this is how I look at what's taking place. And I give you my reasons. It's not like I just, the woman's a Russian asset, and then to go into the next video, it's usually very specific if it's something that she's doing. Like this vote that she made at the House. Like I said, it's a rational choice.
I don't think that's necessarily smearing her.
That's not smearing.
I think that's just calling her out
You
for
will
things that you disagree with her on.
You will never find a video where I've trashed her. You may find videos where I've said I don't like this, where I've said she's done X or she's done Y. But trashing her, no. Smearing her, hell no.
Right, Matthew Wayne. Disagreeing with someone is not smearing.
That's not smearing.
Right.
And by the way, like I said, all things being equal, I like her.
Yeah.
She supported my guy. Like, I've said this on more than one occasion. Look, Clinton has this notion of loyalty. So do I. And this is a rule set that we are in. She stepped down and took all of this shit to support my guy. Why would I dislike her? Like, almost just by definition, just as breathing, I have this notion of fondness for her because she was willing to do it. So there's never a situation where I'm trashing her. But I do disagree with her at times. And she is not the person who I'm backing in this race. Sanders is.
Right.
But that's, it's not the same thing. Of anybody else in this race, she's probably the one I like the most outside of Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what is the next topic that we have? Do you want to jump to the one on your list?
Yes.
Before we do
I want to jump to this
the
one.
next contributor.
Because this one is awesome. Obama talks up Warren behind doors. Obama is talking to Warren behind doors. Now, I love this. I love this. I love this. Now, this should not be a shocker. In one of the articles that was released, I think it was by the New York Times, it made the point that said Obama would get into the... It wasn't New York Times. It was when that article came out that said Obama would jump into the race if it looked like Sanders was going to run away with it. And a part of the article made the point about Warren. It says Obama, I don't necessarily say didn't like Warren, but his issue with Warren was if Warren takes it after him, it would show that he failed. Meaning it would be a repudiation of Obamaism.
Right. Of his
and so he didn't like that. He was, I'm not hot on this. I'm not hot on this. So he wasn't feeling her on that point. Now, in this case, though, he's talking her up, saying, look, you got to back her if she wins it. I don't think he has to worry about that personally. So this article is funny to me, but it's like you have to back her if she wins it. If she takes it, you got to back her. Now, the reason he's saying this is because of all the trash he's been talking about, the billionaire class. And he's talking to this donor class. And it's like, she doesn't seem bought to me. She doesn't seem bought enough to me. And he's like, no, really, look. She did Clinton solid when, she didn't support Clinton until, it became a particular time.
Do we have the audio of what he said?
No, this is not audio what he said.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
This is reporting on it from The Hill.
Okay.
So this is The Hill. Elizabeth Warren has spent the presidential campaign railing against the donor class, making it known she doesn't want their help. She has publicly bashed millionaires. She has sworn off a high-dollar fundraisers and refused large checks from Democratic bundlers. But behind the scenes, in recent months, former President Obama has gone to bat for Warren when speaking to donors reluctant to support her given her knocks on Wall Street and the wealthy. And if Warren becomes the nominee, Obama has said they must throw their support behind
the entirety
of
their support.
Now, there's a part here that I think is the greatest thing ever. Right here. I think he feels licensed to give an opinion on her because he's hired her. Longtime Obama ally said. Now, think about that for a moment. Think about that. Yes, he did hire her. And it was the NTB, the Consumer Financial Protection Board. They worked closely on that. But so did Castro. Castro worked for Obama also. And I hate to bring this up. Biden was the vice president of Obama. All I'm saying is, now, to be fair, it doesn't mean that exclusively support her. And it does make this point.
He's just saying if she makes it.
If she becomes the nominee.
Give her your dollars.
You got to give her your support and you got to give her your dollars. But it does mean that behind closed doors, her name is coming up. And Obama is backing her. Yes. I got to be honest with you. I'm not necessarily shocked by this. I mean, look, to me, it was anybody but Sanders. That's the way I looked at it. And but Obama was clear, behind the scenes anyway, that he was not on board with Sanders.
Right.
Fair enough. Understood.
Way too progressive.
Fair enough.
Let's not go too far left here.
Fair enough. I get it. You're a third-way Democrat. He's not. He knows what he is. And I think Sanders, even, for the most part, knows the terrain to which they're dealing with. He knows Obama is not necessarily going to back him. Now, would Obama back him if Sanders wins it? Maybe. Because Sanders did eat shit to back Clinton. And if I'm not mistaken, even backed Obama. If that support is not both ways, the party is done. There's no party. Honestly. Don't take my word for it. Think about it. If Sanders goes out and get booed for Clinton, we got to elect Hillary Clinton. You saw that video? It was like a minute of booing. Just booing. If he's willing to do that, and Obama And even Clinton,
after he hits the primaries.
Yes, are you telling me that all of these lefties that back Sanders? No, I'm asking. Do you believe that all of these lefties that back Sanders would all of a sudden be okay with this? Meaning, whatever Democrat you put up in the future, do you honestly believe that any of those lefties will back that Democrat? I think the answer would just be no on its face.
Right.
I mean, you might be able to
doing that shit again.
Yeah, you might try to scare him. Be like, this ogre, Tom Cruise, Ted Cruz is gonna. But I don't know if that works anymore, especially if that doesn't go both ways. By the same token, would they work behind the scenes to ding him? Yes. Yes. Oh, God, yes. Would Obama and Clinton work behind the scenes in order to ensure that Trump wins over Sanders? Yes, for the exact same reasons they would be okay with Corbyn losing. I mean, the catch here is we're not all on the same team. They're clear on that. Sometimes I think lefties aren't. And because lefties aren't, you get this shucking job nonsense where we want you to support us for 40 years, talking about New Deal, new third way Democrats. And then when it turns around where you're the popular one, your guy gets in, and they're like, oh man, I know we made this deal, but yeah, I'm uncomfortable with this. In which case, behind the scenes, they may work to ding the guy to ensure that the guy loses. They would prefer Sanders to lose, only because it preserves who they are. Sanders winning destroys who they are.
Right.
What does it mean to be a Democrat if Sanders wins? What does it mean to be a Democrat? And I suppose it would mean whatever Sanders is, which means what the fuck are they?
You gotta come. You
What are you? What are you? What are you?
Slide to the left.
My point is Warren would be okay for Obama in this situation. Why wouldn't he be? She's a Democrat. She was willing to support their agenda going back in 2016 when they put Clinton in office, and she didn't back back Sanders. So she would be passable, I would imagine. I mean, she's a team player in this case of the party.
Right. She falls in line with Democratic
Party winners.
Everything, right.
Yeah. So I'm not shocked by this. I love this because people were like, right. Oh my God, Obama is working for Warren in the background. I think the issue is the cash. It's if you're bashing the donor class and Obama is out there shucking for you to get those donors on board, is Warren taking that money or not?
Not right now.
Well,
but she will later.
Well,
she said. So.
I think the catch here, and I think the shift of hand is that Warren said that she rolled that back on this notion of whether she wasn't going to take money afterwards. What she said was that she would help the Democratic Party do that. Meaning she'll be working with the Democratic Party so they can get money and everything else. Meaning these big checks will go to the party, which will eventually go back to her.
Right. I won't take the money directly.
I won't take it directly.
But if DNC takes it,
nothing is going to exchange hands with me.
Is what it is.
What's the next thing?
All right. So on my list, back to contributor appreciation. And again, just a heads up, Jamal has not seen these before.
Oh, by the way, right here. I forgot about this. Talking about a bad bet. Wait. Talk about a bad bet if your name is Barack Obama and trying to back up Warren. Do you know, in order to get any delegates, you might, or may not know this, you need 50% of the vote. 15%, I'm sorry. If you get at least 15% of the vote, you can walk away with delegates. That's clear?
Okay.
All right. This is Warren, the polling in the first 4 states. The first state, Iowa. Warren is polling in 4th place with just 12.9% of the vote. In New Hampshire, Warren is polling at 4th with 13.3% of the vote. In Nevada, Warren is polling in 3rd with 14.5% of the vote. In South Carolina, Warren is polling in 3rd with 9.5% of the vote. In the first 4 states, she is polling under the threshold to get any delegates. And Obama is running around the country trying to tell billionaires and millionaires, hey, this is the person you need to put your money into.
Well, maybe that's why he's doing it quietly.
He can do it however he wants.
On his basis.
Her and Buttigieg are done. I said it before. I think more emphatically of it now. Yes, it's true. No votes have taken place. That's fair enough. If Buttigieg does not win Iowa, he needs to call it a wrap. And the only significance of Buttigieg winning Iowa or something to that effect would only just be how much did Sanders and Biden get of the delegate count in Iowa, that type of stuff. I call it a wrap. And the sad part is he is eating into her numbers. Like, these two are kind of eating into each other. The clear two people in this race is Sanders and Biden. Nobody else matters. They matter only in the sense of how much of the vote total they take. Meaning, if one person gets out, how much of the vote goes
it's going to go to somebody else.
Right. Kind of like Kamala Harris got out and her 2 percentage points went somewhere. Like that.
All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah. I mean, she was a top-tier candidate. So those 2 percentage points, they mattered greatly. They mattered greatly, man.
Are we ready for the next one?
We are ready for the next one. I'm prepped.
Well, you're not prepped because you haven't heard the discussion before. So we're testing your ability to
One fly.
shoot from the hip, somebody said. Ant, thank you for the comment. Amp says he hopes you see this in time and get a second to comment. We do, and we are, or
Yes.
he is. He says, The Hill had a guest on about a week or two ago. I believe a surrogate for Warren, pushing hard on this narrative, likening her to Frances Perkins. She's also pushing that comparison herself. She repurposed wood beams from some old house or furniture of Perkins into a podium for her to deliver a speech on, in which she likened herself to Perkins' motives and actions. Perkins had a good history of advocating workers' rights and other issues even before her time in the White House. If I myself were to liken anyone to Perkins, it'd be Bernie Sanders. I don't doubt that you agree. Just curious to hear your take on it and desperate for someone with an established platform to respond to this. Well wishes and congrats on the Daily Show.
Thank you.
The sheeple who become sus just because it's a Russian network. Just we need to wake up.
Yeah, that's true.
So what do you think about this Perkins thing?
Look, Warren has tried to wrap herself in movements. A few things. Absolutely. But movements has been the latest thing that she's tried to wrap herself
She's
into.
trying to align herself to things
Right.
like that, right?
I don't... Let me just say it this way. I think she's looking for any avenue possible to get into the White House. And I think the avenue that she's taken on is, I need to pull some of Sanders' people. I need to pull some of Biden's people. Meaning, I need to be cuddlier than Sanders in order to get in. Meaning, people need to think I have a bit of edge, but not so much edge that I can't get the other elements of the party on board. But that also means she needs to get people who are affiliated with Sanders. That's infinitely important to understand. And so when she's running, and the way she ran this race is, whatever Sanders does, I'm going to ape it. He's for Medicare for all. I'm for Medicare for all. He's for this climate plan. Well, I have a climate plan. He's for a criminal justice. I have a criminal justice plan.
Me too.
And the
me
people,
too.
me too. I got that. And the people on the networks will say, she has so many detailed plans. And it's like, but they're just copies of the shit that Sanders has been doing for the last 30 years. Like, it's so aggravating to watch. And honestly, maybe this is why I dislike her. Because I didn't dislike Warren like this. And I think
I did.
I didn't dislike
From
her like
jump.
this. No.
Maybe not from jump, but this go round.
I didn't dislike her from jump. This go round, yes. Because I felt like he tried to push you to run in 2016 and you said no. And then you wouldn't even support him. And now he's running and you jump into the race with this notion of like hitting him in the knees to sap away some people who may think you're... But even within that description, it's to take away some people who think that these two people are similar enough and she has a vagina, so, I'm going to go this way. Like, it's that stuff that I think aggravates me more than anything else. But in order for that to take place, she has the very least pretend to be somebody that those people would hook into. Meaning, she has to parody this guy. And she has to do it, like ape him. You have to have something to latch on to for this. And so whether it's her pretending to be in movements, pretending to be a Native American, pretending to be Sanders, whatever the pretending is, all of it still boils down to, I'm pretending to be something else in order for these people to believe enough to vote for me and support me. It's all based on support. I hope you realize that. Just like Obama running on hope and change. It's, I'm gonna cast my when you're watching. It's Christmas. You're watching TV, and these polar bears come on, and one has a little kid, and one is like rolling down in the snow. And then the dad polar bear comes and he gives the kid a Pepsi, and the polar bear cracks it open and drinks it, and it's a Coca-Cola.
And they're seeing drinking.
And it's like, oh, that's so cute. That's so adorable. Now, what just happened though? What just happened? What's more interesting is what mechanically just happened. A fake polar bear, just like the polar bears that are, dying because they can't get to the other ice shelves. A fake polar bear flips open a container that's fake also of syrupy drink and representatives for drink. All of this done just to attach that emotion that you felt when you're like, oh, that's so adorable, with Coca-Cola, something that's just sugary drink of water, and that with a certain amount of rat feces in it that's allowable by law, that type of stuff. I guess my point is, it's that's no different. Those things are exactly the same. A candidate has to craft something around themselves in regards of how people perceive them, and hers is, I'm attacking Wall Street. Even in that article, what is that? She's been attacking donor class. Well, she's been attacking the donor class for a reason. She falls short when he gets to the issues of foreign policy because she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. But on the domestic issues, her goal has been, I am very similar, if not identical, with the exception of a vagina, to Bernie Sanders. I'm just cuddlier, and I just believe in capitalism, and I just need to craft a law. I just need to be this technocrat to get this done. But that's an image, It's like it's not like there's certain things of her leak through that says that's not necessarily indicative of reality. And honestly, there's something to be said for just being who you are.
No, we don't know who the hell Warren is.
But that's the problem.
All over the place.
That's the problem. And I think this crafting herself as
She's a very good chameleon.
Yeah.
Just kind of blend in. And
well, I don't even think she's that good at it. That's the sad part. Like, in the beginning, yes. But the moment that somebody says, are you going to increase taxes on the middle class to pay for your healthcare plan? Something that everybody knows. Everybody knows the answer is yes. And her answer is, she says no.
Well, I think in the beginning she was just imitating Bernie Sanders. Yes. But I think she started to really lose ground because now she's just kind of imitating whatever.
I think she's
like, this sounds good. I'm going to go with that.
I don't think she can get it back, though. Like, once you lose it, I don't know if you can get it back. Meaning, she was at one point, like, you must understand, this was her in the polling at one point. Like, to be clear about it. Yeah, Warren had gotten all the way up here. Look at that. 26.6, Biden 26.4. This is the average of polling. And this was in, October? What are we in, December? She's down here. Once you lose it, can you get it back? Can you get it back, baby, once you lose it? I don't know. I don't think so. And not to mention, Buttigieg is not helping her or doing her any favors at all. And honestly, the moment that you come out with a Help Pete's plan, people start looking at Pete maybe a little bit differently. But, look, my only point in this is how a person presents themselves. And the media and the hoopla around them and everything else. That person may have no connection to the way that they're trying to present themselves. And I would put to you that this is probably the same. I mean, the woman was a Republican and a corporate lawyer, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. She aggravates me so much now.
See, and a couple of weeks ago, you were like, I don't understand why you hate her so much.
No.
And you were like, is this because she's a woman and you're a woman?
No. Okay, I don't know.
You
I don't
did
know if I said
that.
some sexist shit like
you
that.
You did say some sexist shit like that.
If I did, I'm sorry.
You did. We played the tape.
I know a lot of women who are listening to this right now who would be like, no, women could be some catty assholes. All right, so let me see.
What is happening?
I'm saying.
What's your next topic? Because we're getting a little weird.
All right, so.
What is this? Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I saw a Bloomberg ad pop up on my Facebook page.
Did you? That's right. You did tell me that. You did tell me that.
Attacking Trump.
Bloomberg exploited prison labor to make 2020 presidential campaign phone calls.
Oh, I did see this.
Yeah.
I saw this.
Now, I looked at this and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with this. Now, explain to me what's wrong with this.
Prison labor?
No. This, right here. Bloomberg exploited prison labor to make 2020 presidential phone calls. What's the problem with this story?
We don't want prisoners to be exploited. It kind of reminds me of Kamala Harris. And
the 8 cent for slavery. Yeah, she was like keeping people in prison to fight fires and other things. My thought, honestly, my issue with the story.
You asked me that like it was a trick question.
It wasn't a trick question.
Okay.
No. It wasn't a trick question. My thought was, we allow prison labor, even taking immigrants and forcing them into prison labor, as par for the course for our country. If that's true, and you have a capitalist in the race who has $50 million and he's looking to save money, is it shocking that this person who's looking to save money with $50 billion will try to find...
Even though all of the money, he has tons and tons of money.
All the money in the world, and is still trying to get on the cheap. Now, to be fair, Bloomberg said he didn't know anything about this. Now, whether he knew anything about it... to be fair to him, to be overly fair to Bloomberg, his money is probably...
spread out.
Yeah. Like, so his thing was...
He's not accountable. I can tell you every dime I have is going. But I guess when you are rolling in the dough like that...
He spent $100 million within the course of like 2 weeks.
Must be nice. When you're like, I don't know what they spent that money on.
Vanity. Election, right? This burns me up. Honestly, the stop and frisk thing, I didn't know I could hate Bloomberg that much more. It's this notion of... It's a vanity project for him. Like, he's like, I'm a billionaire. Fuck it, I'm going to be president. I have money. I have billions. I can just,
buy my way in.
I just buy my way in. And $100 million. And to put it in perspective, the number 2 person was another billionaire, Tom Steyer, with $88 million, I think he spent. Bloomberg got 5% in the polls. $100 million bought him 5% in the polls. Tom Steyer is not even there. And he spent $88 million. When I say billionaires shouldn't exist, it's shit like this. Because honestly, without billionaires existing, nobody says, let's just do this shit. I have 50-50. Do you realize he could spend $2 billion in this primary of his own money? Wouldn't hurt him in one iota. And it may even save him money. If Bloomberg is able to stop Bernie Sanders from becoming president of the United States, even if it's just to stop him from winning, once Sanders wins the primary, he still saves billions of dollars.
Right.
The tax that even Warren, and I actually believe her on the wealth tax stuff. And that's my angst of this. It's not that I dislike her across the board. It's I dislike the way she's run this race. That's it. It's because it comes across as so disingenuous. Like, if you ran as who you are, I want to tax Wall Street. I want a public option. Maybe. This wasn't something that was a big deal to me before, but I'll take a public option. Fuck it. Let's do it. And I want a wealth tax. And my foreign policy is essentially going to be whatever the Democratic Party is.
I think who she isn't enough. Which is
But to me, I don't care. Like...
No, but you're saying, she should run as who you are.
Yes. Because the election, believe it or not, I know this is going to sound... It's going to be mind-blowing. But the election is not really about the candidate. It's about what the public wants. And how can the public get what it wants? Unless you are running as who you are. And if you are running as somebody else, you are deceiving the public by definition. Now, it is true that in this particular contest, there's risk to Sanders running this way.
Yeah.
Like, he's not... Like, whether you realize it or not. I'm not saying this, as if I have the best person in this, so I kind of want... He calls himself a socialist. The public does not like the fact that he calls himself a socialist. And he runs that way. He just says, look, this is what I am. Take it or leave it. But she's not doing that. And I think that's the thing that's aggravating me. Even Joe Biden. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. Whatever you think of him. Do you dislike Joe Biden? You don't, do you?
I
don't.
I do.
You dislike him? Now, why do you dislike him?
Because he seems creepy.
Okay, beyond the creepy stuff.
You mean like policy or?
Just whatever you think of as Joe Biden. Whatever that quantity is in your head that's Joe Biden.
It's weird because I can't really take him seriously. So it's like borderline, like I can't take him seriously. Like I think he's kind of like a
Joker of sorts.
And then like I think he's kind of creepy. Like he missed the line to like be molesting women, or you know what I mean? Like he's just shy of doing some really foul.
Okay, I don't have any evidence
inappropriate stuff
that Biden has been doing any.
No, I didn't say
stuff.
that he is.
You say he just looks like he's one hair
like
away
when
from
he's
it.
false. He's one false step away from doing some really shady.
Okay, I don't dislike Joe Biden
or something. No, I can't take him seriously.
I don't like Buttigieg.
So beyond that, it's kind of
Buttigieg.
hard for me to tell if I like him.
And don't misunderstand me. Liking and voting for are two different things. Like, I'm saying this in a sense of I would never vote for Joe Biden, even if Joe Biden was running against Trump. Could never bring myself to vote for him. Do I dislike him? No. But whatever you want to think of him, he is who he is. Like he didn't come out and say I'm going to push Medicare for all and then backed away. He said I'm going to expand Obamacare. He was honest with that. He didn't fuck around with the foreign policy stuff. He was who he was with that. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like Joe Biden has never lied. You can find, I think I've even done videos where he's lied. But I'm making a point that he's running as who he is. Sanders is running as who he is. I don't think Warren is. And because I don't think Warren is, I find her to be disingenuous. Pete Buttigieg can't fucking stand his ass. Same quantity. Same thing to me. And he's another Obama type that feels like you're just bullshitting in order to try to get in office. Not to mention, what do you have a fucking stone, Stevie, be running in this primary? You lost Indiana. You lost the DNC conference. You've had a history of losing, with the exception of being a mayor in some podunk town. And now he's running to be president. But whatever. Anybody can run. You meet the age requirements and everything else. I'm just making the point. The people who I think are more disingenuous, I can't stand.
I see.
Klobuchar would never vote for her, but she is who she is. Like, yeah, I hope you understand what I mean. There's some people who are running that are real quantities. She's not.
We get it.
It's just aggravating. But yeah, my issue with the prison, I don't like prison labor in the first place. There's problems in general with this notion that these people get arrested. And then we have companies that say, let's make a buck off the people who we just arrested. That just feels so gross to me. They have no power in this process. They can be put in solitary confinement if they don't particularly like a particular thing that the person does. Like, this gets dicey to say, like, at the least. And then in California, they were paying people like 8 cents to work. Essentially, what they explained, they said, look, we give the prisons minimum wage. The prison then decides to do what they will with the inmate, in essence. So if they want to pay that person 20 cents, they said that people get paid $20 a month. It's unclear what that means in the sense of hours worked versus wages.
But
if it's like
those funds,
right? But if it's like California it was 8 cents to 30 cents, I believe. So I call it 8 cents from slavery. I call it 8 cents from slavery. Now here's a question: say a prisoner doesn't have any means of subsistence. Meaning, when you're in jail, you need people to send money to the commissary and stuff like that.
Right.
Say the person's by themselves. And we nix this. Is that good or bad?
Well, bare minimum, if they're in prison, they're being fed and clothed and have a roof over their head.
Yeah, but that's never enough. And, well, I don't know if you do.
I don't
but
know.
It's usually there's other things that they want, cigarettes or whatever else.
No, I know. But, I mean, I guess then it gets to the point of they only can have the things they need. They don't have the means to get things that they would want.
Who discern what's needed or what's needed?
Well, I'm just talking about to live.
So there'll be some people who will be negatively impacted by this.
If
we got rid of it.
Disallow
prison
people
labor.
Right.
Prison labor bugs the shit out of me. It's just so gross to me. By the same token, I guess it has to be done in a way. Like, there has to be a way to allow, because I would imagine there are some people who families don't interact with them. Like, it's true that you have this notion of keeping people in jail in California. And by the way, the prison, you okay?
I thought I had a sneeze.
Oh.
It was a yawn. I'm sorry.
The prison has a weird incentive in this, because the prison who works with these corporations is able to get a cut off of this because they're not paying the people main wage. And maybe the issue is pay them a minimum wage.
Right. And then it would be like, okay, well, they just have a job while they're in prison.
Yes.
not slave
Yeah.
labor.
I mean, that's...
And the worst part about this is the very first line of this article is mayor and multi-billionaire
$55 billion. $55 billion.
used prison labor. You couldn't afford...
It's
not only that, but where's your campaign people?
Well, all right. So it's through a third-party vendor, Mike Bloomberg 2020 campaign contracted New Jersey's call center company, Procom, which runs call centers in New Jersey and Oklahoma. Two of the call centers in Oklahoma operated by out-of-state prisons. And at least one of the two prisons, incarcerated people were contracted to make calls on behalf of the Bloomberg campaign. This happened once before. That guy won. It was like back in 95 or something. I'm not saying they're related. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, pay the people minimum wage. If you're going to do this, you got to pay them. And even with paying them, there's a problem with it. Like, imagine for the moment if your boss could put you in solitary confinement. Think about that shit. Like, all of this creates sick incentives. I got to be honest. I don't know if the minimum wage thing is enough. But
this is definitely not it.
This is definitely not it. And you know, I guess my issue is the prisoner is at the whim, for the most part, of the state and of the ward and everything else. And not even just the state, the ward, whoever, even your guards, the people who are overseeing you as you're doing those various jobs and everything else. Like, this creates really sick incentives. Yeah. I don't know how you fix this. But I would say there will be some people who will be disadvantaged by this. And I don't mean disadvantaged in the sense of people say like, oh God, there's 5 people who are going to lose their jobs. I don't mean it like that. I mean it in the sense of there are many people who are serving time who are singletons.
Right, that aren't getting help from the outside. Nobody's coming and putting money on their books or whatever.
But I don't know what that number is. And whatever that number is, this is a problem. Yeah, but this is a problem. This is worse.
All right, before we go on to the next, are we done with this one?
Yeah.
All right, so gotta go back to an old super chat from Trudy. I didn't miss you, Trudy. Thank you for the super chat. Trudy says, it's going to take every progressive vote to beat the super delegates. Supporting anyone but Bernie is supporting super delegates.
Agreed.
Happy Christmas and Merry New Year.
I agree, Trudy. Fully agree. Unless she needs salty? I mean, I don't know what she's talking about, but I agree. I mean, honestly, I don't know why anybody would support anyone but Sanders if they are a lefty.
ORAS says the price of a phone call is higher than the wage
that they get
in most states.
Yeah. Like I said, 8 cents an hour. I mean, that's extraordinary.
All right, so before we go to the next topic, I have a super chat that just came in from Frank Friel. I apologize, Frank, if I'm mispronouncing your name. But Frank says Biden ran against Obama in the 2008 Dem primary.
Yes, he did.
And had to drop out because he said Obama was well-spoken for a black man. He was made VP to keep old white people from freaking out. Full disclosure, I'm white.
You know, the funny part is, though, I don't think white people know this.
I remember that.
I remember that
too. So maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, you were talking about how to take out Joe Biden.
Right.
And I started making a hit piece for Joe Biden. That video where I was clipping
Black
together.
People can't take care of their kids.
Right. I was putting together clips of like some of the racist shit that Biden has said over the years. And that comment was part of the clip.
Yeah.
In the video. Maybe I should finish that video.
I think you should finish that video personally.
It was like a 3-minute hit on this particular video.
It should have been 30 seconds.
The problem is you want a 30-second like hit piece video, I guess. But he's got so much shit to put together.
But you only need really...
I understand that, but it was so hard to pick and choose out of all of the content that I found. So I had one particular video based on just the fucked up shit that he has said and his stats on the crime bill. That's just one video.
That's one. But the only one that I wanted, the only video that I want, black folks can't take care of their kids. With a secondary reaction from the woman on MSNBC... And the guy was like, he has to drop out. That's the most racist thing I've ever said. Just that clip by itself. Because that clip is so over the top.
Birdman 23, that's what we're trying to... That's kind of the goal, is to kind of like show black people. He said, and yet he's still polling high with black people. That's the problem.
That's my point. Yeah.
They haven't seen all this, which is why...
Well, two things. It's not entirely that they haven't seen all of it. I mean, ultimately, you're talking about the older African-American crowd. What white people don't know, and maybe you don't even know this might be unaware to you.
I doubt it.
This might be news to you.
Come on. What you got?
Joe Biden is a person
I knew that.
that blacks think they can sell to whites in the general election.
What?
When
Say
you
that
talk
again?
to Joe Biden is the person that older blacks believe is necessary, meaning that's the
That's what you
person that
said.
they can sell to whites in the general.
Okay.
That's their thought, honestly. If you talk to, for example, if you talk to Margaret would say, he's our only hope. If you talk to other elderly African American, they would say something similar. He's our only hope. Why? Why is he their only hope? It's not so much that we love his policies. Policy would never even come up. It's he keeps the monsters at bay. He keeps the monsters at bay. And until you deal with that, the other stuff becomes more difficult. Now, if you hit him on this notion of black folks can't raise their kids, they're like, motherfucker. And ideologically, it becomes difficult to support him on something like that when that's clear. That's why I want the response of, kind of at the bottom of what he said in writing, in addition to the reaction of the two black people, the only two blacks that they had on something like, oh, he has to drop out. Because
I remember that.
Zerlina Maxwell flipped
pissed.
out. She was pissed.
And she was like cursing and stuff, and she's like, "I'm sorry, bleep." And they were like having to bleep her out. Yeah, she was pissed.
She was pissed. I don't know if she was cursing, but she was
because
pissed.
I remember she either.
Well, the white woman that she was talking to didn't get it, and I think that aggravated me that much more. I don't typically agree with Zerlina, but on this, I'm looking at this like, this white motherfucker, because it was like he literally talking about African Americans said they can't raise their kids. Now, what is she supposed to think of this as an African American woman, where this man just said she couldn't raise her kids, and the woman that she's talking to doesn't get the issue? I don't see the problem. I mean, he said it pretty fast. Are you sure African Americans are going to hear him? And she said, I don't care whether they can hear him or not. That's not the point. The point is that he said it, and you should be apoplectic over the fact he said that. And now, I look at that and say, that's a perfect campaign video. That's it, just that. Nothing else, just that. You need to do two things. Pry away electability argument from Joe Biden, because that's his entire... I can show you the polling on this. Where you look at the polling, they'll say, who do you think is best on healthcare? Sanders. They're talking about, in the polling. And trends, not just one poll. Who do you think is best on healthcare? Sanders. Who do you think is best on immigration? Sanders. Who do you think is best on... They would say the economy, and this flips between Biden and Sanders. They would say, who do you think is more electable? And it would go to Biden by like 20 or 30 points. And you would look at the vote tally, and it would say something like, Sanders, I think the last one was like 15, Biden 18.
Yeah.
3 fucking points. But all of that is electability. If electability wasn't a part of that, then Joe Biden would lose on every stat. And nobody gives a shit about a candidate if they don't think the candidate can win. Meaning that the moment that Joe Biden started losing even a few percentage points from electability, he tumbles. Now that's the catch. Joe Biden can win this. I know you think he's a clown, but he can win this. He could win this. Sanders supporters, don't get in your head that he can't win. I made the prediction that the people who are out of the race are Buttigieg and Warren. That means everybody else also is out of the race. The person who I did not exclude was Biden. Biden could win. Don't sleep on that.
Maggie Smith says, if Biden is nominated, I'm going to market that pheromone block so we can spray it on our kids. Fuck your kid, maybe. Krillin 876, Krillin, and thank you guys for the super chats. Krillin says, well spoken is like calling him a house Negro.
I don't think it's that. I think the well spoken thing, it just comes across as, why would he be anything other than that?
Well,
I think that's the
we
issue.
had this conversation before
It's
when
this
I was
assumption.
on here, because it's like well spoken for a black person. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
Kind of implying
It's
that
implied.
you believe that he was not going to speak well, and why would you believe that?
It's so rare that you use for whites.
Rock Lee, thank you, Rock Lee. All right, so Rock Lee's going into another topic.
Go ahead.
So I want to make sure that we're done with this one. Let me make sure there's... Oh, somebody said, check your Streamlabs. Frank Friel. Frank, how do I pronounce your name? Frank, help me. Frank says, Biden watched too many episodes of Different Strokes.
He's just old. I don't mean that as a negative. I just mean,
reality.
He's reality. He's stuck in his,
He's an elderly dude.
He looks at the world, I would imagine, from the last 70-some years of his life. Yeah. So it's
yeah, but so is Bernie Sanders, and he don't be out there saying some of that stuff.
No, he don't say that shit, but he never believed that stuff. Like, it's a different upbringing. Kills for a living. I'm trashing Tulsi, and JT is a hypocrite when it comes to her. Warren flipped on Medicare for All, and he made a hit video after hit video. Tulsi flipped on it. Tulsi flipped. He's still on her clit. Tulsi trash, but sincere. But since she backed Sheepdog, JT never go after her. So here's... Wait.
That doesn't make it...
Wait. So when Tulsi flipped on Medicare for All, I have a video with a picture of Warren and Tulsi Gabbard on that video where I went after both for flipping on Medicare for All. If you don't believe me, look it up. Shame on you for not following my channel enough to know that I hit her. And you have people on here saying I smear her. So I don't think those people will come away with that assessment if at the very least something was said that was not in her favor. Burnman23, Jamal, why do you think there should be more female representatives in Congress when 22% of those who run are women, 2% less than men in Congress? I think that was what that means. This is manufacturing consent for corporatists so long as they're females, as is the wage gap debunked by Harvard economists. I don't know if the wage gap has been debunked, but I've never said that there need to be more women representatives in Congress. I don't care. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I was about to say I don't care, but I kind of do. And I need to put it in perspective. I don't care one way or the other. Mostly about who runs for Congress. I want us to have good representation that looks out for the interests of the public. I just want the public to be the focal point. Within the context of that, though, there has to be some attention to it, because the last thing you want is just all men. And I'm not saying there will be all men or anything like that. I'm just making the point that it's kind of like the female doctor or the woman or the men doctor thing. The men are perfectly okay with saying, all right, let's just, do a hysterectomy. And the women doctors are a little bit more attentive to the fact that this woman may want her ovaries later in life. I think of the same way in Congress. And if there's anything to say about identity, maybe this is it. There should be some attention to it, especially I find that it'd be if there's an issue, but the question becomes, is there an issue with it? Women at this point can run as much as men, I would imagine. I mean, I'm unaware of this this thing that stops women from running per se. So fair enough, but I've never kind of got our hand and said there need to be more women running for Congress. Right. I don't think I took a position one way or the other. I was unaware that, look, people run and people choose who they want. That's the way I look at it. And I care more about your ideological beliefs than I do about the person who's, that avatar, be it man, woman, black, white, gay, straight, or trans. So that's my typical way of looking at it. But I wasn't aware that there was this kind of problem that was stopping women from running. The wage gap thing I've heard about. But I've heard people argue against that. So I'm not going to take a position on that one. As far as I know, the wage gap thing is real. But debunked is too strong. I hate it when, debunk sometimes. I mean, but they said debunk for pretty much everything. But just so I'm clear on the first part. I've never taken a position where more women should run for Congress. If more women run, great. If less, that's also fine. I care more about the ideology of what the person stands for, not about the identity stuff. But there is something to be said, and maybe that's the way to say it. No, I don't necessarily care in the normal circumstances. There is something to be said about being represented. And I do believe, not just believe, like I said, the doctor example is perfect. You have more male doctors, you have more hysterectomies because those doctors care less about the value of those items. I think the same thing is true to some degree, I guess, in Congress, especially around female issues. But the majority of the issues, like 99% that we deal with, are human issues. But I feel you. I don't know. That's a mix or muddled answer, but I hope you get where I'm going. It's a little both are true at the same time. Identity matters less, policy matters more, but at the same token, some of that identity does go into policy.
We get okay. Krillin, I'm sorry, it's getting late and I'm fading.
Wait, how many more?
We have a couple. Krillin 876 says, "Remember, Biden is the naked gun candidate."
Yes, he does look like Leslie Nielsen.
All right, and then there was another one from Rock Lee, yes. Rock Lee says Yang Gang still lying about Medicare for
He's
all.
lying through his teeth. And when Crystal Ball had him on the show. And Crystal Ball boosts him all the time. Now, it's not so much that I don't think she's for Sanders, so it's not that. And I know her thing is I want to give the other candidates a chance, and the media's not giving them a fair chance. Fair enough. But your Yang Gang guy, Crystal, has been lying through his teeth about Medicare for all, and maybe it would be good. And I've said he was lying months ago. I've been right on all of this. Sitting on the fucking moon, not having allegiances with the stuff, and just kind of being like, that motherfucker's lying. It's like just $1,000, bro, not the healthcare. That's his thing, $1,000, bro. And I tried to make the point to Crystal Ball, that bribe, because that's all it is. We're going to bribe you $1,000, but let us keep control of all the means of production. Let's keep control of all of this political space and the differential between us and you. This is just a bribery amount. So you can shut the fuck up and leave us with our billions of dollars. That's all it is.
Here's $1,000. Don't ask me for shit.
Here's $1,000, bro.
You're not getting anything else substantial that's going to actually alter the course of your life. But here's $1,000 a month.
And he's calling that shit Medicare for all. The plan that he put out. I kept saying, I was like, he was on fucking CNN. I showed the episode where she said, so you're not for Medicare for all the bill? No. But you're calling your program Medicare for all. Do you think that's a little disingenuous? Well, I mean, we debated that. Oh, so somebody at your camp was like me and said, you're full of shit. And are you sure you want to be this full of shit when you go out?
And we said yes.
And we said yes. I had said yes. I do want to be this full of shit when I go out.
Sure, why not?
Why not? Let's do it.
Real quick.
Go for it.
In 30 seconds or less.
That's not quick.
Fred asks Jamal, who do you think Elizabeth would give her delegates to?
Oh, man, that hurts.
30 seconds or less.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, honestly, my model of Warren doesn't go that far. Because I don't know what she's in it for. If for all I know, Warren could have gotten into the race just to kneecap and take the win out of Sanders. For all I know. I don't know. My assumption is that it's Sanders versus everybody else. Maybe with the exception of Tulsi. But everybody else is on the same team. With the exception of Sanders. That's the way I look at it. How can I not look at it that way? I mean, for all I know, all of these Democrats jumped into the race with this notion of maybe one of us would stick. And at the very least, we can sap so many delegates, it forces a second round. So, I honestly don't know. And I gotta be honest, based on this, she might not even get any delegates. I'll take it down. At least in the first few states, she might not even get any. And if she doesn't get any delegates, meaning if she doesn't win one of those first 4 states, and she doesn't get any delegates from those first 4 states, is that the point where she gets out the race so that she keeps dragging the corpse along?
Somebody said Biden. A couple people are saying Biden.
Because they don't buy it. They don't believe her. I mean, this is kind of making my point. It is possible, very possible, that Warren got into the race in order to sap the energy from Sanders. Because, again, the way she ran this race was flagrantly disingenuous. Her goal was to pretend to be Sanders. And so if she was running a race like that, when she didn't run in 2016 and didn't support my guy, then how would I trust her as being... Let me say it this way. People assume that just because she's supposedly ideologically closest to Sanders, that she would have supported him in 2016. Well, that didn't happen. She was working with Clinton behind the scenes. They assume that in this race, they shouldn't. She's working with Clinton behind the scenes now. Obama is out there shucking and jiving for her. So, and her campaign has been reaching out with big donors behind the scenes. So, why would I assume that these delegates, if she gets any delegates, will go to Sanders?
Yeah.
I can't make that assumption. I don't know. I don't know what she's in it for. It's possible that Warren is in this race just to win it. And then she says, Sanders is closest to me ideologically. I couldn't support you in 2016, but here's my delegates now.
Right.
She could. I have no idea. My model is incomplete. It will be more complete at the end of this primary, because at this point you can see where she stands. When you get out the race, and I don't know why she's in the race anyway. How anti-Semitic of her to stay in this race. There's a Jewish candidate in the race. That Jewish candidate has better ideas. That Jewish candidate is more trusted. That Jewish candidate is more liked from a favorability standpoint. That person has better ideas on healthcare, environment, immigration, economy, at the very least based on the polling trends that we've seen. So why are you in this race? And how is it not anti-Semitic to be in this race? Now, I'm not saying that. A person asked me that. And I just think it's an interesting question. Yeah. It's pretty racist for Elizabeth Warren to stay in this race.
To be blocking that Jewish
man.
Man.
And by the way, even if she just gets out the race, there's a large contingent of her supporters who go to Sanders. Just get out of the way.
All right, really quickly.
And by the way, I'm not telling her to get out of the race. I'm being tongue-in-cheek on this. She can, people...
She can go.
In my head, people run the way they run. But if she's honestly, and not just image, running the campaign because she wants big transformational change...
Get out of the way.
Get out the way. Get out the way. Yeah, move. Get out the way. Get out the way.
All right, really quick. Michael Williams says, should independent political commentators, such as on YouTube, call out each other as aggressively as they do mainstream media? More to push back on false information like Russiagate or weak impeachment push that weaken the progressive movement and soften new viewers to government propaganda. He says, I always see a lot of, I don't watch anyone else. Mm-hmm. But shouldn't we, if the people who are supposed to be fighting the good fight on our side are misguided and or wrong?
The thing is, I honestly don't watch anyone else. And I don't know if people are lying about that. I don't think they are. Now, if it's anything like me, most of the time I spend is looking for content. It's this kind of feverish thing for stories. It's like, what's a good story? Is my audience going to care about the story? Do I care about the story? Is it something that's, interesting? Sometimes it's smaller than that, like especially in the political thing, because we've gotten so zeroed in on politics because of the election. But I gotta be honest, there's nobody else I watch. I mean, I used to watch Dora a lot until I started doing my show. Then at that point, that stopped.
And I think too, people who are let me say this.
Go.
I think for yourself, I can't speak to everybody else, but I think for you and probably other content creators, it's hard
to do both.
No. What I was going to say was you guys are going to hit the same topics, and because you are lefties or progressive, you might kind of say the same things or come to the same conclusions. If you're watching, you want to make sure that you're coming to those conclusions on your own. If you're watching Jimmy Dore, you want to make sure, I'm not just parroting this person, or I want to make sure that this is actually my point of view. So if I'm just watching somebody who's saying the exact same thing that I'm going to say, am I just parroting them? So I think that's one reason why you look out for outside sources as opposed to somebody that's going to be in line with your views, because you want to see the story and come up with your own point of view.
You're right. Much of what I'm watching or what I'm looking for are articles. Like it's like
I know, but what I said was true.
Well, but that wasn't really my motivation per se. It's more of a time issue. It's like
I know that, but I think that's part of it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm right.
Especially for Aisha's best life, that clearly is a part of it.
I'm talking about for the Progressive Soapbox.
Not for mine. I mean, for mine, it is literally a time issue. Well, time and interest. Real News Network, I like them. Democracy Now! At times, like there's certain YouTube things. I like RT. RT tends to be good. China News. What is the other one? There's not Iranian, Syrian News Network. Like there's a few, because sometimes you need the different perspectives and you can't get those. Like even when you're Googling, sometimes you can't, like the first 4 pages are just Western sources. And you're like, God damn it, man, I'm trying to get to something else. But most of the time it's research. So let's say you come across a story, you're like, okay, this is interesting. Now some stories take longer than others. So the one where William Barr was going into, was talking about John Durham and the case looking into the origins of Russiagate. That video took for fucking ever, because I had to look through the footage of the testimony between the IG Horowitz and Lindsey Graham and some of the other people they were questioning. Graham ended up being one of the best questioners on this one. He ate him alive. Not ate him alive, but he made it that much clear. Horowitz's standard, it's fucking ludicrous. He did this shit twice. He was the one that was looking into the Clinton investigation, whether or not everything was above board there. He was like, yeah, everything's fine here. Well, wait. You just said there was a lot of bias in this report. Okay? But you just fucking said everything was fine. You can't have it both ways. It was like that. Horowitz has his way of writing his reports. What he means by bias is singing in the rain. I'm trying to put a knife in Trump. Because what Lindsey Graham exposed, Lindsey Graham was like, so you didn't find any bias? He says, no. He says, all right. He says, so You're telling me that the FBI went to his source, found out his source said that Steele was full of shit, and you still took that back to the FISA court and didn't say anything. And then you used that information, even after you found out Carter Page was working with the CIA at one point, you used that information to keep the investigation going. Your investigation should have ended right here when you found out Steele was full of shit.
Wait. We're not going
you're missing my point. My point is this.
No, I'm not.
My point is this. It takes a certain point where Graham is like, so why did they do that? And he says, I don't know. He says, and Graham's thing was like, if it rained outside in the morning and the grass was wet, you'd assume it was raining. That's the shit that he said. And his point was showing multiple points where he's like, why did they do that? He's like, we could never ascertain why. He says, so the guy changes the record? He says, yes. And this guy was a singing out in the rain Clinton supporter. Like, the guy hated Trump. He never Trumper. Yes. But you couldn't find any bias? No. I could not ascertain whether or not there was a bias. And you're like throwing your pen at the screen like, motherfucker, what do you mean you couldn't tell bias? All of these factors are true.
Wait a minute.
My point, it takes a while sometimes to go through the stuff. And it's like time to sit there and look at a door video. It just doesn't happen. Or even time to watch,
okay.
I don't know the other people. I don't know the other people who might be there. But time to watch those things. They're few and far between.
Okay, Jody Hovel did not leave a comment, but thank you, Jody, for the super chat.
Thank you, Jody.
And TCB 101, thank you. TCB says, Joe Black, baby. That's right, Johnson. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know what that means.
Do we have any more patrons?
There's
we can call it a day.
It's just, I don't want to say just, but it's Michael Williams.
Well, X1 from Williams.
We've asked like 3 from Williams so far. Williams and Fred Aggs, we've hit.
Well, we can save 1 or 2 for later. Bernie.
Okay.
Let me see. Scroll up.
We just did that one.
Actually, we didn't do that one. So that's a tough one, though.
Well,
there are 2 points.
This is
personally, I don't have a huge amount of time.
You just made that point.
Right. By the same token, I don't know if that's everybody's reason. And
we know
it becomes, the disincentives are the same, right? It's like, why doesn't CNN... Well, CNN would attack Fox News. But it would be a CNN show that attacks Fox News show, that type of stuff. So that happens. And we have that all the time. I mean, I might go after TYT. Somebody might go after Dore. There's a video that Dore put that I wanted to do a video on. But again, I don't necessarily think my opinion is going to be what other people's opinion is on that. My thing is, look, Dore can have any particular political opinion that he wants. I mean, that makes Dore Dore. He doesn't have to support any random Democrat, especially if that person is doing something that he believes is a problem. My only issue with Dora on that one is there's a baby out with the bathwater type thing with that. Like, if somebody may take a particular political disposition you don't like, doesn't mean that the entirety of the person is flawed. You know what I mean? Especially if it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
All right, we have a super chat from Charles Calvin. Thank you, Charles. Charles said, everyone forgot about Seth Rich, Kim.com.
VIPs. Veterans for peace something. What is it? Veterans something for peace.
JVL. Thank you for the super chat. Santa Claus better come bring me some
for sanity
dinner.
Something for sanity. That's with God, I can see his face. I can't think of his name. He got roughed up by the cops at it was a thing in Washington where he protested.
Kim.com literally said Seth Rich was the source and nobody cared.
It's not that nobody cared.
Veterans Intelligence Professionals for Sanity.
That's it. Yeah. What's his name? I can't think of his name. It's an older gentleman that used to be into the intelligence community. In fact, he used to work for Ronald Reagan for a while. He got beat up. He got beat up while he was injured. It made it even much worse. The guy's like in his 70s. I can't think of his name, though. He has white hair, kind look to him. I can't think of his name. There's another gentleman that, if I'm not mistaken, is in a wheelchair. But both of those guys were like the front page. Bill Binney, that's him. Bill Binney and Ray McGovern is the first one I would mention. Yeah. I knew I could see him. I could see both in my head extremely clearly. I just couldn't think of their names. It's not that nobody cared. There were a lot of people that cared. Clearly, there was a lot of people that cared. The fact that anybody even knows his name right now and that the connection was made. There were two problems. One, the entire media apparatus in the United States went with this notion that the Russians did it. And even when the Mueller case came up, and the Mueller could not make a tether. And even when they were in court, and the court says, well, look, just because, you guys have something here doesn't necessarily, like, you couldn't make the link between the two. There was no handoff. They just assumed that the handoff had taken place at some point just because, the thing was, that it happened. But as a proof positive? No, they didn't have proof positive. But that didn't matter. The media narrative went with this notion that the Russians did it. The Russians did it. And when you say, well, wait a minute, does it make more sense that the Russians did it? Or is it possible somebody just worked there did it? No. It is impossible that somebody that worked there, that potentially had access to those files, released those files. We're like, okay, fair enough. So it's not that nobody cared. Julian Assange, more than Kim.com. I don't know the fuck Kim.com. I know who he is, but I don't give a shit who Kim.com is. Julian Assange, I do care about. Julian Assange alluded to that, though. When he was in this interview, and he made this point about, there's a young man in the United States, we're paying money to find, et cetera, et cetera. And Julian Assange consistently said, we did not get this from the Russians.
Right. That
didn't matter. And at no point did Comey go or Mueller go to have a conversation with Julian Assange about it. That's not entirely true. Behind the scenes, Assange's team was working with elements of the United States. The thought being that they knew Assange had those CIA leaks and they wanted him to screw up some of the names and that type of stuff. Assange's thing was, look, I'm releasing the files, but I work with you to expunge the names if any of your officers are in danger. The U.S. burned him on this. And after they burned him, he was like, I don't want anything to do with you guys. So, I'm not being involved. So that's not entirely true. But from the standpoint of Mueller didn't go over there to see Assange. And if anybody would know who did it, Assange would know. So, I don't buy the thing that nobody cared. I don't think it's that.
Well, and she says, I know you cared.
You're talking about media. Yeah, the media didn't care. Yeah, the media cared. For fuck's sake, they had a completely opposite narrative that they were trying to establish. So,
I think I need to go take a nap.
Guys, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. I don't know if I'm going to be back tonight. What time is it? 10:43. 10:03. So I may try to bring in the Christmas on the show, but I don't know. I got to be honest. I don't know if I'm up for that, but we'll see. I want to thank all of you. If I don't see you guys on Christmas, at the very least, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. If you guys have something else that you guys celebrate, Merry that also.
Merry that?
Well, Merry whatever it is. None of it's real. None of it matters. I guess I'm saying that whatever the holiday that people ascribe on your particular day that you celebrate, worship, appreciate, or thankful of, or don't even care about, whatever that is for you, Merry
everything.
Merry that.
We're purging clothes because we're moving. And last year I bought you a shirt that said,
that's being purged.
Merry everything.
That's in the purge box.
You purged it.
That's being purged. And just so we're clear, in the last episode, she was very clear that I didn't do purging. And yet there's a box full. You got rid of like 6 shirts?
No. There is not a box full. There's talking about a shoebox worth full.
No. You shouldn't be dishonest. This is what I mean. When I made the point earlier, when I said sometimes you would throw stuff out that won't true, it's that. This is where we are. I love the fact that we can get this on camera because she would have never admitted to this. But I can go and get that box and bring this box in for you guys to see it. Now, do you want to put money on that box being full and more than a shoebox full?
Well, at this point, it's your stuff and my stuff.
That's your dodge? I can put my clothes
on.
It's
no dodge.
I could put this on, rotate, like the Merry Christmas thing, and put back on that music. And I will go and I will bring the clothes back and show the amount of T-shirts that are being purged and whether those T-shirts would fit in a shoebox.
No, it didn't spark joy. No, I don't care.
You said it.
I said what? A shoebox worth?
Yeah.
It might be a big shoebox. But my point was, you kept saying minimalist. I'm getting rid of everything. And my point was, it's very difficult for you to get rid of stuff because then when the time comes, you're like, well, caveat, I need this. This is my work attire.
Just so we're
So
clear,
I'm keeping
this
all
is called
25.
backing away from a particular point that was made. It's like, look. Now that you went there, I was just trying to say I might have been overstating my case magnificently. So I was just trying to say.
Sometimes I dramatize, but I've been married to you for several years, and we've been together for 8. So it's rubs off on me, the drama.
So now blame. Deflection and blame.
7 stages of whatever.
Deflection and blame.
Charles Cavan really quick says, Kim.com offered evidence Rich was the source.
Fair enough. I know he is. That's the large
Asian
Asian guy.
My baby says that we use contribute appreciation time for marriage therapy.
All right. I'm burning up for some reason. This room is
Happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays.
Thanks
you
for
guys
watching.
Have a really
good night.
Good night. Thanks all.
Don't drink and drive.
Like, share, subscribe.
Hug your mother.
My cousin Sheree.
Kiss your family.
She
don't call out people.
I shouldn't call out people names.
Let's go.
I remember one day we were at the thing. She was like, all right. She's like, we put the head out. You want a drink? He's like, what? I've never heard that anybody said it in person. It doesn't go together. It's like, all right, I'm about to get a drink for the road, and it wasn't like a beer. It was like a hard vodka or something. I was like, that doesn't seem safe. Now she was going to the club, and people when they in that club life, they have to get their buzz on before they get to the club, because alcohol is expensive in clubs, and you kind of want to be buzzed as soon as you walk in the door. It's like, I don't want to be, that 10 minutes, this place is kind of seedy. I don't want to be here without being inebriated for the first few minutes. And so they get their buzz, but you have to drive from point A to point B.
And that was a decision.
Yeah. I guess the way to do that is keep the alcohol in the car.
Don't drink and drive.
But you can drink it after you get
Uber.
there. Yeah, that's not safe.
And that saves you from having to walk also.
Walk where?
Like find where your car is parked and stuff like that. If you Uber, it just takes you to the door.
Yeah.
Whatever, just be safe and happy holidays.
Be safe. Please be safe. Like, share, subscribe, and Merry Christmas, guys.